Sarada Uchiha's destiny just became inevitable with every moment that she draws upon the power of her Mangekyou Sharingan, which is now newly reawakened. Her vision, it is burning away, just like every Uchiha before her. But this isn't the end of her journey, it's really just the beginning, because Sarada one day will obtain the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, and today I'm going to show you why, how, and what it means for the future of the entirety of the Uchiha clan legacy. There's a race against time in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, and Sarada is right in the heart of it if we're being honest. Join me in today's newest Naruto Explained video, and obviously if you enjoy Naruto and Boruto content, consider liking, subscribing, and sharing the video if you enjoy it. So first we have to start with the Mangekyou Sharingan, how it burns the light away, and the significance of Sarada's situation currently. The Mangekyou Sharingan isn't necessarily a gift even though it's a power-up, it's really a curse. Each time an Uchiha taps into his power, they are literally burning out the light from their eyes. It is spiritual, it is physical, it is inevitable. Madara Uchiha, he burned through his Mangekyou quickly off screen. There were intense battles, high-powered techniques like using Susanoo. It eventually led to him having to take the eyes of his brother. Sasuke Uchiha, only after a few weeks of use, his Mangekyou Sharingan vision deteriorated drastically during the 5 Kage summit. Itachi Uchiha, he lasted for almost a decade, but that was due to the extremely careful and minimal use of the Mangekyou Sharingan, and even then, he was almost blind by his final fight. And as we saw, he was seeing 3 versions of Sasuke as he was fighting, and by the end of that fight, Itachi's eyes had completely burned out. Then you look at Shisui Uchiha, very similar. Despite holding Kotomatsu Kami, one of the most broken genjutsu in the series, he barely used it in the story. Shisui was very careful about using his Mangekyou Sharingan. We know as much from the 2 Itachi light novels. Now, whether it's fast-paced or it's slow, the result is always the same. Mangekyou Sharingan users, they lose their eyesight and their abilities, they decay into oblivion. There is no exception here. But the story did give an answer, the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. That is the one way to stop it. The Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan is achieved by transplanting the Mangekyou's eyes of a close blood relative. Let me restate that. The eyes of a close blood relative into yourself. The genetic similarity allows for the chakra pathway to synchronize, stabilizing the vision and restoring clarity and enhancing the Mangekyou's original powers while also birthing a new power via the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. Not necessarily techniques, but you are merging the chakra of the person whose eyes you took. Sasuke tells us he feels Itachi's chakra merging into his own. Madara did it by taking his brother's eyes. Sasuke did it by taking Itachi's eyes. Not only did they avoid blindness, but they became stronger than ever. The Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, it offers perfect vision, deeper reserves of chakra, evidenced by Sasuke and Madara, and an even stronger genjutsu and even stronger Susanoo forms, this being the perfect Susanoo. Without it, the Mangekyou Sharingan is at a dead end. With it, it is a godlike upgrade. And this brings us to the heart of the matter itself, why Sasuke very likely told Boruto about the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. Because here's the thing, in the latest chapter, we see Sasuke telling Boruto about the Mangekyou Sharingan, but what's to say that Sasuke stopped there? If he's already explaining to Boruto about Sarada's power, Sasuke in character is going to want to make sure Boruto knows everything, because Sasuke knows during this point in time, they're being hunted down by the Anbu. They also have Code to worry about. They did not know at the time that Code had an army of 10 tails that he was building, so he needed to make sure that at the very least, Boruto was aware of the fate that Sarada would have, because Sasuke, as we know, based on another flashback in chapter 5 of 2 Blue Vortex, he already believed that Boruto and Sarada were the key to stopping what was ahead. He would want to make sure his daughter was fully prepared. Sasuke knows better than anyone else the dangers of the Mangekyou Sharingan deterioration. You guys know here on the channel, I've been very critical how Sasuke used it. It didn't just he used it on that random cloud ninja to interrogate him, but he also used Mangekyou Sharingan jutsu on Killer B, when he was trying to capture him. Granted, he didn't know that Jinchuriki were immune to Genjutsu, but I go back to what I've said before. Basic Sharingan Genjutsu gets done the very things that Sasuke was attempting to do. But that's irrelevant. Sasuke, he lived through it, he suffered from it, and he eventually corrected it. If he is mentoring Boruto like we saw, he wouldn't just give him half that information. Sasuke is very pragmatic. It's one of the things I love about his character. He prepares others for reality. He does not hold his tongue. If Sasuke says something, you can take it at face value. He does not say things to make you feel better. He does not give compliments out of nowhere. And when doing a breakdown of things, he does not sugarcoat. I strongly believe we're going to have another flashback of Sasuke talking to Boruto about the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. This does imply that Sarada's upcoming blindness arc, which is inevitably coming, and the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan evolution, they are already seated in Boruto's knowledge base. He's just waiting to trigger it at the right moment in the story, and that's actually effective storytelling. Now, we have to get to this big thing that I still see people bringing up, which is the Shin clones, and I'm going to explain to you why the Shin Uchiha clones, they are not a viable option. Shin Uchiha is someone who fans have suggested that Sarada could just use the Shin clone's eye for the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, but there's a major problem with this. Shin is not genetically Uchiha. He was a Orochimaru test subject who had a special affinity for Sharingan transplants, but he is not related to Sasuke, he's not related to Itachi, he is not related to Shisui. This is confirmed in Naruto Gaiden, the 7th Hokage, and the Scarlet Spring. Shin is someone who idolized Itachi, but he was not his clone. He is not a relative. He's not even a descendant of the Uchiha clan. Orochimaru all but called him a lab rat. A lab rat with artificial Sharingan. He just had a special body that was the perfect thing for Danzo to use for that arm that became the Sharingan arm. It wasn't just Hashirama cells that was in that arm. Clones of Shin would be even less genetically compatible, meaning their eyes, they would not awaken a Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan in Sarada. You would literally have to change the lore if that is the case. There's a reason why we are told in volume 43 of Naruto that there were Uchiha who tried the eye swap and stuff and they failed. You had to be a close blood relative. It would just be a normal transplant and Sarada would eventually go blind over time. There would not be a new power awaken. Again, you would have to retcon this. So what exactly are Sarada's realistic options for an Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan? So if it's not the Shin clones, then what options does Sarada have? Well, option one, and I kind of think this is the more likely one, is Sasuke's old eyes are in Obito's lab, because as a reminder, the eyes he have right now, they are Itachi's, but it is a collective of Itachi's chakra that was in those eyes and Sasuke's own chakra. That's why the Mangekyou Sharingan pattern you see takes on a new pattern. It's a fusion of the two chakras. Despite what you've been told, that has nothing to do with why Sasuke can't turn his Rinnegan off. Already did a video on that if you're curious. Now, in the manga, after Sasuke obtained his Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, his old eyes, they were stored. Obito's mountain graveyard lab, it still exists in the manga continuity, because it should be worth noting that scene where Sasuke destroys the lab doesn't happen the way you see it in the anime. Sasuke did use Amaterasu on a couple of Zetsus. He did not destroy the lab like the anime shows you. Instead, Sasuke cuts a hole through the ceiling and he exits. And as we were told by Boruto's editor years ago, when you start getting into things with the anime and manga, they're two different continuities. They are parallel at times, but they are two different continuities. You treat the anime like you treat Dragon Ball Super's anime. The manga's the manga, the anime's the anime. It's the same thing. That lab was never destroyed in the manga. The old Mangekyou Sharingan, they could theoretically still be there. Obito had a habit of collecting eyes, so they would likely be in that jar. Sarada recovering them and transplanting them could fulfill the blood relative requirement that you have here. And this will be poetic. Sarada claiming her father's old light that Sasuke had when he was consumed by darkness, in order to save her future and use those same eyes in order to bring about light to the Uchiha clan. The eyes that Sasuke had were eyes that Sasuke originally wanted to use because he was thinking he was restoring the Uchiha clan. Sarada would be the one who actually does it. It would be very poetic when you look at it from that perspective. Now, option number 2, and this is less likely, but it is one that I do think you have to consider, which is transplanting Sasuke's remaining Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan eye. Now, Sasuke still has one Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan eye, because Momoshiki went poke on the Rinnegan, and we don't necessarily know in the manga, because again, anime and manga, 2 different continuities. We don't know in the manga whether or not like the entire Rinnegan eye itself was just completely destroyed and like Sasuke just plucked his eye out, and this whole time he's been secretly running around with an eye patch, which that would be awesome. But it is unknown if one eye transplanted would fully evolve a new Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, or would it just be something happens in one eye. And I just want to say this, we've never had this scenario before where you have someone who has a Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan transplant that eye to a close blood relative, meaning the story has some flexibility, because when you look at how extremely rare that is, this is literally probably going to be the only time we have this scenario in the history of Naruto, because as we were told in Naruto, not every Uchiha has the potential to awaken the Sharingan. They all have the Sharingan Kekkei Genkai, but not all of them awaken it. Getting the Mangekyou Sharingan, even fewer Uchiha have the potential to awaken the Mangekyou Sharingan. The likelihood of you having 2 siblings or a parent and a child, basically someone who qualifies as being a close blood relative, basically from the nuclear family tree, having 2 people in the same family who both possess potential to awaken Sharingan, then awaken Mangekyou Sharingan at the same time during their lifespan, that is a very, very rare situation. That's catching lightning in a bottle and doing it twice. When you take in a third scenario of someone having a child who has the potential for Sharingan and Mangekyou Sharingan, and that same person being in possession of an Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, this is not common. So there is some flexibility here if you want to play with this. It would require suspension of disbelief, but there is something you could do. And as I said before, whenever you get to a point where you're unable to suspend disbelief on reading fiction, you've outgrown fiction. Any writer will tell you that. Now, if the bond's strong enough, so father to daughter, then the chakra link would be pure. It's entirely possible that the transfer of a single Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan eye could potentially fully stabilize Sarada, and it would have incredible narrative symmetry. Sasuke sacrificing the last of his vision for his daughter's future. It is something that largely hinges on whether or not Sasuke told Boruto about the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. And it should be worth noting, when we look at Sasuke, when Sasuke is inside that tree, his eye is closed. The eye that is closed is the eye that has the Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. And as I've said for years, and as Ikimoto himself said in 2024, the details matter when looking at the stuff he has in the manga. It's not done by random. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of this idea in that I don't think it's the most likely, but if it does take place, I'm not going to be shocked about it. Now, in terms of the Buddhism symbolism, the redemption through Sarada that you would have for Sasuke is right there on the surface, because there's a deeper layer to this, and it's rooted in the philosophy and classic Japanese storytelling, which a lot of those use Buddhist philosophy. And when it comes to Naruto, you guys are probably tired of hearing me say this, but Naruto and Boruto 2 Blue Vortex deeply use Buddhism. That's why we dive into it so much on the channel. So in Buddhism, the sins of the father, they can be purified by the virtues of the child. Sarada represents a new karma, untainted by the crimes and betrayals and the hatred that marred the Uchiha name for generations. Sarada's actions can cleanse Sasuke's actions, his crimes in Shippuden, and those same crimes that we know still weigh heavy on his soul. By empowering Sarada to obtain an Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, this would be love and trust and sacrifice. This would not be hatred, and this would be a full completion of Sasuke's redemption arc. The Uchiha clan, born in blood and hatred, finally gets to transcend that curse through Sarada's clear vision and pure heart, by her obtaining the highest form of an eye that an Uchiha can naturally obtain. Which, as a reminder, the Rinnegan is not the final, quote, evolution Kabuto and Orochimaru theorized that, but that's not the truth. Rinnegan is obtained by mixing the chakra of the reincarnates of Ashura and Indra. Not every Uchiha can get the Rinnegan on their own. It has to be through those two things, or Hagoromo has to touch them like he did Sasuke. So her Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan would be the first that we've had in the history of the Naruto world that is not awakened as a byproduct of suffering, but instead it will be an awakening because of hope. Sarada's path towards an Eternal Mangekyou Sharingan, it isn't about power, it's about healing. It's about a new Uchiha legacy. And when she finally unlocks that eternal light, she won't just be stronger, she'll be the symbol that the past can overcome and the future that can be born through love. Obviously, if you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and check out more videos from Naruto Explained to keep the Uchiha legacy alive together by clicking here on the left, or click here up top to check out this video from my Everything One Piece Explained channel, or click here on the right for this video from my Anime Explained channel where I talk about non-Naruto content.